You talked so Rice at that time, was that Conference USA?
No, we were the Southwest Conference. So I got to play against former Raptor Oliver Miller. I played against him in high school as well. At Arkansas, so we played Arkansas, Texas A&M. Back when Texas had Travis Mays, Lance Blanks, and Joey Wright. They used to call themselves BMW, the ultimate scoring machine.
There you go.
Love that nickname.
That is a good name.
SMU, teams like that. So they were in our conference.
When SMU was allowed to play sports.
Yeah, back then.
It depends. You gotta give me the year.
Thanks, Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
No,
and so in college ball, and now I'm taking a look, and we'll fast forward all the way to North Carolina winning a national championship. And when you get in that conversation about, and you talked about contracts, and so the one thing for me when I take a look at the one and done, it's so hard to build a program. You're not seeing a lot of programs that got seniors unless you're one
Butler
of
or
those
something
mid-major,
like that.
or you're out in somewhere like a Butler or Wichita State or Gonzaga, these schools. And it seems to be a bit of a shame to me that you can't get back to having not only as players maturing, but as people. I mean, I think that's why you find a Derrick Rose having problems. If people want to talk about some of these other players, because I need you to be a man. Well, some of these guys going from they're spending 1 year in whatever they spend in high school, then they're spending 1 year. Like I look at that Texas team that was Corey Joseph and
Tristan Thompson,
all
those guys.
Rick Barnes had those guys for 1 year.
Rick Barnes is
1 year.
Eddie Mush. If you remember the movie A Bronx Tale, he was Eddie Mush.
Really? That's it, yeah.
Rick Barnes has never really won anything. He had Kevin Durant. What did they win? So, again, you have all this talent, but if you can't turn it around, what are you doing as a coach?
But don't you think that to a degree, whenever I start to lament the fact that they don't stay till they're juniors and seniors, the fact is when they look at the players signing the money they got right now, and then I'm going to turn to you, because when they have these negotiations, these CBAs, you're saying, oh, so you got the 1 year and have the huge contract that looks after my family or all these other families and the kind of money that we have. But now you want me to go yet another year?
Yeah.
So do you think we ever see another year added to what goes on to college ball, or does it stay at the one?
I find it odd that other than football and professional football and professional basketball, that for the most part, no one questions the players who come in. Hockey is a great example, who come in as professionals under the age of 18. No one says anything about that. But, it could be a racial component that's involved there. That the majority of the players in the NFL and NBA are black. And so somehow, by conflation, they're not responsible with their money or they're not mature enough. But what 16 or 18-year-old is responsible enough? But yet and still you'll give, how old is Connor McDavid? When he signed his contract, how old was he? No one says Jennifer Capriati, when you're 13, you can't play tennis. So I find that a dynamic that comes up, and people make a lot of noise about should the age be different. Again, there's another nonlinear conversation about, if I can go to war at 18 and shoot a gun, why can't I shoot a basketball?
Sure.
So that comes up as well. But I always find I'm curious how that comes up in people's minds. No, I don't know any 18-year-olds that are going to be, mature with their money. But if you're going to give it to them, and if the society and the situation dictates, and they have an opportunity to make that money, why should we begrudge them at all? If they have an opportunity to make that one and done, they're not obligated to the university who's already making money hand over fist. The official ladder of the NCAA, they get money for that. The coaches have TV deals, they have sneaker deals. The kids, you're a booster at Wasamata U, and you buy me a sandwich, and I lose my scholarship.
It's a violation.
That I earned.
That's a violation.
That I earned.
Yeah.
I did not deserve it. I wasn't given it.
Yeah.
I earned that. And so if a kid goes one and done, at least John Calipari is not going to lie to you about what it is. He goes, I'm a factory for helping these guys get to what they want to do. They didn't come to school to become physicists. They didn't. Let's be honest. They came to play professional sports if they could. And for those who want to get a degree and go and do something else, because, the commercials, we have 360,000 student athletes, and not all of them will go pro in something other than sports. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But the fact of the matter is they don't get a slice of that pie. and I was one of those former athletes. I was part of that class action suit that Ed O'Bannon did for the video games. I still have those video games where you can see my number 24 and like my stats are there. It's crazy.
I can be Will Strickland?
No. Because I don't think you can even play those video games anymore, unless you have like a really old console.
Go a Commodore 64 or something. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Atari 2600, ColecoVision. But the one and done thing is tough for, I guess, people who want them to stay in school. But again, young people are going to make the decisions they need to make for their families, whatever the case might be. And the schools are going to thrive no matter what they do, whether it's one and done. You don't necessarily have to build a great program. You can be a small program and still get on, CBS or whatever 15 times a year. They make lots of money for the university because that's why they want to keep these kids in school, not for their sakes, but for the sake of the university.
The book that I wrote, it's a couple of years ago now, but one of the chapters, and it just said that, well, the basis of it was I said NCAA players need to be paid. You can't have an entity that owns their likeness and their rights and everything that they have to do and make. It's in the billions. It's in the billions. So NCAA, 4 billion, student athlete 0, and then all of the violations, like me owning a pizza place and saying, "Hey, you had a great game tonight. Well, I'm going to invite you in." You lose your scholarship. There could be ramifications for the coach. All these things that go on. About a year ago, I want to say that Isaiah Thomas, the Indiana Hoosier, Isaiah Thomas came in. We started talking about Bobby Knight, and I've had a chance to talk to Coach Knight on occasion, which has been really, really interesting. And that the doc that's on Perfect in 76 is
30 for 30. Yeah,
you got to see, because anyone who hasn't seen it, it's fantastic.
It's excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
Isaiah said, Mike, he said the one thing that his feeling, he goes, the NCAA, they don't understand poor. They don't know poor. And I think that's fair to say. As I'm sitting there saying, wow, wouldn't it be better if kids could have their second year? Well, that's fine sitting from where I'm sitting. But as you said, in other sports, how come I'm not saying that about any of our young world junior players, or those who come up through the junior ranks, that I think that they need to have education? And it's a little hypocritical, right, in terms of how we perceive some of these athletes. I'm saying, at my standpoint, selfishly sometimes, is just that I like to see programs a little stronger for a longer period of time, and then I think it would take less time to transfer those young men into the men that we want to see in the NBA, not only as athletes, but as people too, because as you said, I hand that big check to some of these young guys. And we've had Sean Salisbury on the show a lot of times, and he was on the documentary called Broke.
Yeah.
You get that money and they give you that platinum card, or what? No, that's not platinum. What was the one that shows up in the black metal box or whatever?
Yes, American Express, the black card.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you open that thing up. I'd like to know how many 19 and 20-year-olds can handle that, because I would have been a disaster.
Dude, I took $50,000 of my first little basketball money and walked into a Benz dealership in Houston, Texas, and was like, "Show me some love." And the minute I gave them that money, the minute they gave me the key to the car, I stuck the key in the ignition, and I swear the car said, "Dumbass, you just lost $15,000." Because it depreciates. And I learned, but again, that's part of the growth process. I already knew that the car depreciated. I already knew that. But I wanted that thing. I want to feel like that.
Sure.
And I wasn't even in it. That was like overseas money. That wasn't even NBA money. So now you have so many options now where you can go to China, you can go to Turkey, you can go to Europe, you can play in the D League
Israel.
now.
You can go wherever you want.
You can play in the D League now.
Yeah.
And this new CBA, now they're sponsored by Gatorade, so it's not the D League anymore. Now it's the G League. And you can make up to $50,000, which is not a lot of money, coming out to play basketball. However, if those guys had not graduated, didn't play basketball, Walmart is an option as well. So if I'm going to make $50,000 playing the game I love and being that close, one step away from being called up to the NBA roster, I'm going to take that shot. And it could be, this is where you get the development. You get the farm teams like in baseball.
Correct.
Hockey
as well. Yep.
I mean, you see less and less African Americans playing baseball as well. There's 62 black players, and I learned that the other day. 62? It sounded like an odd number.
It's amazing.
With the whole Adam Jones thing and CeCe Sabathia saying what he was saying about Boston, and I'm like, 62?